Hey y'all, so today I'm going to be doing my wrap-up for the Rainbowthon and for my graphic week. I will leave a link down in the description to both my video with my TBR for Rainbowthon and Riley Marie's video announcing Rainbowthon, but essentially what I did was I combined the challenges for Rainbowthon, which is to read books that create a rainbow with their spines, with my own specific challenge for the first 7 days of the readathon, which was to read a graphic novel, manga, or trade comic every single day. So I read 7 books throughout the week, but only 5 of them counted toward the Rainbowthon because one of the books' spines counted for 2 different colors. So because this wrap-up includes both books that I read for the Rainbowthon and books that I read just for graphic week, I am going to be going in like chronological order of when I read it during the week instead of in rainbow order. So the first book I read this week was Death Note Black Edition Volume 1 by Tsugumi Oba. And this was one of the extra books that I read for my graphic week, so it quite obviously didn't fit any of the rainbow challenges. And I really enjoyed this. This is the first manga I've ever read, but I really loved it. The premise of this is that a god has dropped his death note, which is basically a notebook in which he writes people's names and then they die. And he has dropped this in the human world, and our main character, Light, discovers it. And Light decides to start using this book to rid the world of people that he deems evil. But of course, when a bunch of criminals just start dropping dead, the police get suspicious and they start investigating, and this very mysterious person named L is brought into the case. And L is known for being able to solve the weirdest, most difficult cases. And both L and Light are extremely intelligent, so it's this really interesting battle of wits going on between the two of them. Like I said, I really enjoyed this. I was worried about going into a manga because I have never read a graphic book where there was no color, and I was worried that I wouldn't like it so much, but I really liked the art style, so I kind of forgot that there was no color. And the story is just really intriguing and really interesting, and I don't want to say too much more about it because I don't want to ruin anything, but it's just super cool, and I ended up giving it 9 stars out of 10, which translates to 4 out of 5 on Goodreads. And I will most definitely be continuing on this series because I may or may not have already gotten the next couple volumes of this. The second book that I read this week was Ghosted Volume 1 Haunted Heist by Joshua Williamson. And Ghosted was my green spine for the Rainbowthon. And I'm not going to talk about this one too much because I honestly just was not very impressed. The concept of a bunch of people trying to steal a ghost from a mansion seems like it's going to be really intriguing and interesting, and I didn't find that to be the case at all. There was nothing that I particularly disliked about this. I just thought that there was not very much that was compelling about it. I didn't think the characters were that memorable. I thought that it was very just basic and surface level. It didn't go very deep into anything. It was just very generic. It just didn't really hold my interest or attention very much, and I ended up giving it, I think, 5.5 out of 10 stars, which translates to 3 out of 5 on Goodreads, because there was nothing wrong with it. It was just meh. And I most definitely will not be continuing on the series because after looking at the ratings of the next few volumes in the series, they're all pretty much the same as this one, which are hovering about a 3.5. And so I'm assuming that they're about the same quality as this one, and I don't want to waste my time with that. The third book that I read during the week was Chew Volume 1 Taster's Choice by John Layman. And Chew was one of my extra graphic week reads, so this did not complete any of the challenges for the Rainbowthon. So in this comic, our main character, Tony Chew, is a cybopath, which means that when he eats something, he can see like where it's been. Like if he eats a fruit, he sees what pesticides are used on it. If he eats meat, he can see kind of how that meat might have been killed, and so on and so forth. And in this comic, Chew works for the FDA and uses his cybopath abilities to solve cases. And overall, I really enjoyed this. I thought that this was a really cool start to the series and a really good introduction to the world and to the food abilities within the comic. I ended up giving it 8 stars out of 10, which translates to 4 out of 5 on Goodreads, essentially because this is a pretty good beginning to the series, but I didn't think anything exceptionally mind-blowing happened in this first volume, but hopefully it's going to get real crazy and real exciting in the following volumes. And I will definitely be continuing the Chew series. I'm not sure how soon I'm going to get to it, but this one has definitely sparked my interest and I will be continuing it. So the fourth book that I read was Sandman Volume 1 Preludes and Nocturnes by Neil Gaiman. And Sandman was my pick for both red and yellow on the spines for the Rainbowthon. So I don't want to talk too much about the plot so that I don't spoil anything, but this comic essentially revolves around Morpheus, who is the king of dreams, and his attempts to return to his world. That barely describes anything, but I feel like any further explanation would be kind of ruining things. But anyway, this one I have really weird opinions on. Rating-wise, I gave it 7.5 out of 10, which translates to 3 stars out of 5 on Goodreads. I thought that this was a really well-constructed, very intricate, very interesting and creative comic that is the good kind of weird. But I also thought that it wasn't quite my thing. I found myself thinking that this comic was good, and I even liked it, but I found myself really not wanting to be reading it. I think that if I'd known more about this going into it, I might not have felt that way, but I also don't think my opinion on this is due to a skewed perception of what I was getting into. Like, I know that this makes no sense, but like, my feelings on this one are really weird. So overall, I think that this is a really good comic, and if this is your thing, I think you'll really like it. But there was some sort of disconnect with me that just made me not want to read it anymore. And I really don't know why. I think I'm probably going to give the second volume a chance to see if I warm up to it, but I'll probably just borrow it from the library instead of buying it. My fifth book of the week was Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life by Brian Lee O'Malley, which is the first volume in the Scott Pilgrim graphic novel series. And Scott Pilgrim Volume 1 was my orange spine for the Rainbowthon. And overall, I just thought this one was a lot of fun. I thought that this was really funny. It definitely had a sense of humor that I really appreciate. And I loved all the irony within it, and I loved that the characters were kind of hipsters before hipsters were really a thing. This book just had a ton of elements that I really, really enjoy in books, and the musical aspect, which is really cool, and how the fights are kind of video game-ish. I just thought that this was a lot of fun and I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving this 8 stars out of 10, which translates to 4 out of 5 on Goodreads. Essentially, my enjoyment of it was like a very personal thing because it had a lot of things that I personally really like, but I don't think that it's this like masterpiece, amazing thing, especially for the first volume. Like with some of the other things I've mentioned in this video, it didn't blow my mind. I thought that it was just a lot of fun and I really enjoyed it, and I hope that the series continues to get better. And I will definitely be continuing the series because I really enjoyed this one. And finally, the last 2 books that I read this week were Saga Volumes 4 and 5 by Brian K. Vaughan, illustrated by Fiona Staples. And I'm not going to get into the plot of these obviously because they are the 4th and 5th installments in a series, but I did really enjoy these just as I have the 3 volumes before. I will say that these 2 are probably like the 2 least favorites in the series for me, but only marginally because I've given all 5 volumes 8.5 stars out of 10, which translates to 4 out of 5 on Goodreads. Overall, the series is just really, really cool. Like I've said many times, the world is so expansive and interesting, and I just really, really enjoy the series. Currently, it is my favorite comic series. It is just really, really interesting, and I've enjoyed every volume so far. And Saga Volumes 4 and 5 were my blue and purple spines for the Rainbowthon. So not only did I complete my Rainbowthon TBR with my rainbow spines, but I also completed my entire Graphic Week TBR, which I am really excited about because I am very bad at starting things and finishing them and going through with things that I have said I'm gonna do. I'm just bad at doing things in general. So that is it for my Rainbowthon and Graphic Week wrap-up video. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the graphic books that I have talked about today. As always, I will leave links down in the comments to my blog, Twitter, and Goodreads. Please add me as a friend on Goodreads. I would love to be friends with all of you. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!